Hi, it's Bob Wormsley from INSYDIUM, and this is another Top Tip Tuesday. And today we're going to be diving into NeXus. So we're doing some GPU simulating, and we're going to make a really nice gloopy liquid. The difference between this and other liquid sims is we're not actually going to use the fluid solvers. We're going to use NeXus Constraints. So let's get our scene open and start the clock. Here's our starting scene then. We have these animating spheres. You can see, look, they have a Cinema 4D vibrate tag on, and all of those spheres in our object manager are within an xpJoin object. That xpJoin object has an xpCollider tag on, which means our particles are bouncing off those spheres. We have an emitter, obviously, spitting out these particles, and if we just go up, it is set to, go to the Object tab, a circle emitter shape. It's going on the -y, so they're going down, and we've got ring only selected, so they're only spitting out from the outer ring of this emitter. Now what we want to do actually is we want them to kind of go outwards a bit before they get pulled down by the gravity. So we can do that by going to this cone angle, putting that on 90, and now if we hit play, you can see, look, they're coming out and then they're coming down. So they're being dragged down because we have an NX gravity in our scene, and it's set to, what is it, 200 centimeters, so it's pulling them down. So we're going to make this gloopy liquid, and we're going to do that by using constraints. We're going to put springs between these particles. So let's go to NeXus. In the objects, we'll bring in an NX Constraints. We're going to set the iterations to 3. It's a good starting point for simulation accuracy. And we need to add a constraint type. We're going to add a connection type. And we can either have birth, distance, or custom connections. We want to connect these at birth. So to do that, let's just click this B button, and now these are birth connections. And what this is saying is every particle can connect to up to 8 others if they're born within a radius of 40 centimeters. We don't need that many. Let's put it on 3, and we'll put the radius down to 30. So now if we hit play, you're going to see a different look. Look, see, they're clumping together. We're already kind of getting the look that we want from these particles, but we can't see these constraints, these springs that are connecting them. So let's sort that. We'll go to the emitter, to the display tab, and we will look display constraints, play that through again, and now there are our yellow constraint lines. Now these constraints, the springs are breaking off, and that's because we've got breaking selected. Let's go to NX Constraints. And look, we have break set to 50% relative connected. And that means if they stretch to 50% more than their original distance at birth, they'll snap. So we want that to be a bit longer. We could put that on maybe 200. And let's make the springs less stiff. At the moment, they've got this stiffness of 80%. Let's make them more stretchy. We'll put that down, way down, maybe 23. And look, yeah, look, they're able to really pull down and stretch now. And this is looking really cool and fluid-like. So now what we want to do is we want to make a mesh from these constraints. So to do that, first we need to create an xparticles trails based on these constraints objects. And we do that. It's pretty easy. We go to the generator. We pick an xpTrail. Here it is. It's asking which emitter do you want to make the trails from. So let's bring in our emitter. But this is important. We need to use an algorithm so it creates a trail using the right connection type. We need to pick from this list constraints. So we'll do that. Then we need to tell it which constraints they are. Well, it's the birth ones we want. So let's click birth. And now if we make our emitter invisible, it'll make the particles invisible, it'll make the constraint display invisible, but look, now we've got green trails based on those constraints. Fantastic. So now we can mesh these and make our gloopy liquid. Let's go to generators. We're going to pick an xpOVDBMesher, and we're going to mesh. It says, what do you want to mesh? Well, we want to mesh the trail. We can make the trail invisible now. So we've got this, and it's kind of looking there, but it's looking too blobby. We haven't got enough of these little spheres that it creates based on the trail. So we can create more if we add more points to our trail. And we can do that by going to the xpTrail, to the spline options, and we can create intermediate points. By default, it's a really efficient trail with hardly any points, but we want more points. So let's put this intermediate points to, let's do uniform, put it up to maybe 10. And now look, now we've got more intermediate points. Look how much more smooth our mesh looks. There's our gloopy liquid. Now just the last stage is to make it look a little bit more smooth. So we'll do that. First, let's put a material on. I've got this pink material that will drag on to our OpenVDBMesher. And then let's go to the mesher, to the filters. We're going to use filters. I'm going to take off this default median. I'm going to put on a Gaussian filter, which is really smooth, like that. And then we could maybe go one more width. No, that's too much. We'll go back down to the 1. And now we're going to add one more filter, an offset. Let's select the offset. We can bring that in, which is just going to thin this out a little. And now if we hit play, there we have got our constrainted particles, which are being meshed to create this really cool gloopy liquid.